to the DownTime podcast. My name is Cole. We got Direct Current over here, DC, and the man in the mirror is the one and the only, the mysterious Mirror Man.
Holla.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Excellent.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
How about you?
Not bad, man. I'm super fucking pumped about this.
Very
This is gonna be awesome.
Me too.
Very grateful to be here with you fellas.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about this for a while now, and finally got the chance to get it going.
Uh-huh.
All right. So that being said, what are we talking about tonight, Mirror Man?
Well, we thought we would kick it off this evening, fellas, with a man who's been certainly making headlines at the moment, been hashtagging all over the place, Mr. Dave Chappelle. We all love him, but we don't all love him, actually, it turns out. But we're here this evening with a couple of gentlemen who have possibly two different perspectives based on the fact that our good friend DC just recently had an opportunity to see The Closer, Dave Chappelle's new Netflix special. Cole has not got around to seeing it at the moment, but he's rest assured he's got some strong feelings.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it yet, but
Yeah. So
I'm
we thought
interested to see.
it would be interesting to have a conversation with two men who have who may have a differing opinion based on the exposure and lack thereof of Dave's new special. So let's get the ball rolling, guys.
So, what's this about? I've seen a lot of Dave Chappelle. I grew up with Dave Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I saw a lot of his old skits.
Yeah.
Absolutely love the man. Hilarious comedy. But I've been hearing there's been a lot of flack with him online this year, and he's getting a lot of hate from certain things. I don't really know much about it. You've seen the show.
Well, I don't know Dave Chappelle at all. Like, I have never heard of this man before. But the only reason I watched The Closure is because our Mirror Man said that you need to watch this and you would really appreciate it. And I watched it, and I can see where Mirror Man is coming from, but I don't know, I have mixed feelings about Dave Chappelle and how he presents himself. So, I don't know. This was the first ever stand-up comedy of Dave Chappelle I watched. So
Okay, so you didn't know Dave before any of this. All right, so
You're new to Dave's game.
very.
yeah. So either one of you guys fill me in on exactly what's going on here. Like, what's the context of this? Why is he getting this hate?
Well, I would say, from my perspective, just by watching one episode of his stand-up comedy, it's basically about, his comedy is always comparative. It's trans people privileges, I would call it.
Like trans privileged?
Yeah,
Okay.
with black racism. He always compares it. So let's say,
It's a tool in his tool bag.
yeah.
Okay, so like, what do you guys mean when he compares like did you say trans rights? No, it wasn't trans rights.
No, trans, almost privilege.
Trans privilege and black racism. What do you guys mean like that? Like, do you mean he's comparing what it was to be a black man growing up in America at a heavily racist time?
What is it right now too? Not just growing up.
Oh yeah, no, continuously.
Yeah.
Continuously. But so what you guys are saying is he's kind of comparing like what the trans community is going through to what?
No.
No, okay.
No, he's saying how easy it is for a trans or gay person to raise his voice than a black person.
Oh shit.
You know?
Right.
And then
It took a black man generations, and essentially, it's taken the average trans person
2 decades.
comparatively a short period of time to be heard. So I think probably, and this is just my guess, is that there is some element there with Dave of he's a little bit salty,
Yeah.
quote unquote, that that it took as long for all of us to recognize the average black person for the hardship that they've encountered during the course of their life. He feels like the trans people have sort of fast-tracked a little bit, and I think that rubs him the wrong way a little bit. But it doesn't rub him the wrong way in the sense where he feels like there's no I don't feel like there's any retribution there or anything, but it's a subject for him to explore.
I have a very interesting question for you.
Yeah.
Is it because more trans and LGBTQ community belongs to the white race?
Well, I don't think it can be. You can never rule that out.
And maybe that's why he's comparing it with the race.
Sure.
And, you know, because it's a white gay person whose voice is being raised, but a black person, straight person's voice will never be heard.
And can I just interject and say one thing?
Yeah.
That this is it's solely my opinion. It's the opinion held by a lot of people, but it's certainly my opinion, is that Dave's main objective with his comedy, like I noticed the other day, DC, that you said to me that that you didn't find Dave's special funny.
No.
But that's a very common criticism. I see that.
Yeah.
I see that a lot now, and I even felt that myself. I've seen his last eight. Think about it, 8 specials.
Yeah.
And I watched his show. He did a sketch comedy show for the better part of about 4 years.
Oh, was that the Chappelle show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he did some of the best sketch comedy, but a lot of it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
It was so much deeper than that. It was Dave he's a stand-up comedian by trade, but I think he considers himself a
social reformer,
a philosopher.
Yeah,
I think, and there's no reason why we shouldn't put him up there with some like with Aristotle and all of those people. Yeah. There's no reason why Dave Chappelle shouldn't be on that same plane with those people, because his craft, and he gets really pissed off. Like I watched Dave do a pile of interviews where he gets really offended where people refer to his comedy as art.
Yeah.
He says, I appreciate art. Art is wonderful, but that's not what I do. Yeah. What I do is craft. Yeah. I craft things. I think so deeply. It's nothing that I say is nothing that very little of what he says comes from it's not based on emotion. He's thought something so deeply through.
Yeah.
And he's only trying to stimulate us to think about something differently than what the mainstream is. That's all he's trying to do.
Well,
he's trying to challenge us to think differently. And a lot of people, and specifically at the moment in the LGBT community, in the trans community, he's stirring up the people that are speaking out about him, who want him canceled, who want him erased, punished, are not a great representative of that community. They're just not. They just aren't. Now, I'm not saying that those people's voices don't matter and that we shouldn't consider what it is that their perspective, their point of view, but personally, I don't agree with it. I think Dave Chappelle, and I'll shut up, guys, because this is not my...
No, keep going. This is the whole thing.
But Dave has so much love in him. And I watched him, never mind the Chappelle show, before the Chappelle show, I watched him do stand-up and sketch comedy, and he has never, fellas, wavered from his original approach to comedy. And he hates that it's called comedy. He said, listen, every now and then, my point of view is funny, but that's not my goal.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make people laugh. I'm trying to make them think. And sometimes that's funny. Occasionally that just becomes funny. So to bring that full circle, when you said to me the other day, I didn't find it that funny, he wasn't trying to make you laugh.
No.
He wasn't trying to make you laugh. But Dave Chappelle is so good, the next special, he'll make you laugh. Yeah. He'll make you laugh. Because he'll reward you with his next special with pure comedy. But he wanted to make you think for a minute. And to me, those are the people who are the most important. And the fact that the the community, whatever, I can't keep up. I'm an old man.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to keep up. It's too hard to keep up. But because I can't keep up with all the pronouns.
Recording. All right, so little technical difficulties. We're back now. So to continue on to what the Mirror Man was saying, I think it's normal for people to want to ask questions or to want to be educated on that, because like I'm a millennial. I was born in the 90s, so I kind of grew up with this, and it slowly became normalized and more normalized and more normalized. So I'm used to it, but also growing up around generations that were significantly older than me. Well, I shouldn't say significantly, but like within a 5 to 10 year span.
It's pretty significant.
I guess so. I don't know. I don't want to be rude to my elders. I enjoy it. I enjoy the people I hang out with.
Respect.
You gotta love everyone. But I get it. Like, I grew up around people that were homophobic and some that weren't homophobic, and to understand the era of when they were raised and what was normal at that time and what wasn't, and then these things that weren't normal at that time becoming normalized over like throughout the years, and really pushing themselves into like mainstream society, and like to where it's at the forefront where you see it all the time. I can see where that would cause a slight discomfort. Maybe not because those people are uncomfortable because they hate it, but because they don't understand it yet, or they're trying to understand it, and it takes time for anyone to learn anything, right? So, and I think that's a good thing. Like when you talk about your son and you say like, I just have questions. You know what I mean? That's not you being rude or pulling back, or it's you wanting to learn so you can be there again in the future or to grow as a person. Because there's so many new things coming at us all the time that it's hard to kind of, keep up with it. So now we find ourselves like, I know when I was a kid, you didn't talk a lot about trans, but it was all gay and lesbian. Like, are you gay? Are you a lesbian? You know what I mean?
It's pretty black and white. Eh?
Yeah. And then
in fact, trans people go way behind than gay and lesbian.
Yeah.
Trans people are biologically trans people.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Gay people, after a certain age, they think and they evolve, and they find themselves being attracted to a different, to the same gender or whatever. But biologically, when they're born, trans people are born like that.
Yeah.
So that should be like right away that cut difference, and they should have been the first people to be accepted.
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you, because like, and you bring up a point, Mirror Man, about like you still believe and you trust biology, and if you look at how a person grows,
well, let's just say but I include biology.
Yeah,
it's not impressive per se, but I include it. I feel like it needs to be included in the conversation.
Yeah, so it's like we're not talking like hate or anything here. We're just talking about three dudes trying to understand some shit.
Lots of questions.
Yeah, lots of questions. But that is the one thing. So before, and I learned this in biology in high school, was the only reason men have nipples. And it's funny is because when the fetus is developing
It's always a
it becomes a woman first.
Right.
And then the X chromosome or the Y chromosome comes in, kicks in, and then you become male. So that's why men are born with nipples. So you're right. Like when you say like from the very beginning there was always trans, and it's true. But then like it's funny that you say that too, because in other cultures, especially like in our indigenous cultures around here, two-spirited is a really big thing, and that's someone that walks on both sides of the line. At least how they say it, right?
So that means I claim it.
So it's maybe in a spiritual sense, it's like you have a balance of divine masculine and divine feminine, but on a surface level, a lot of people that are two-spirited are non-binary, transgender.
Okay.
You know what I mean, or like bisexual.
Like unlike most people's opinion about Eastern culture, like Asian countries like China and India and all, I can't talk about all of them, but I've grown up in India, so I know how it's there.
How long you lived in India for? How many years?
22
And
years.
you're how old then?
26.
So the vast majority of your
Vast majority of my life, yeah. So I've seen people being treated like God back home because they're trans.
Wow.
And a trans person's curse is considered the baddest curse a person can get. And what do you call it? Back home we have this ritual or mantra. What do you call it? Let me find a better word to describe it. I would say an ideal custom, an ideal way of living is the balance of masculine and feminine side.
Okay.
For which there is a dedicated god called Ardhanarishwaran, which literally Ardhanarishwar literally means half female and half male god.
And that sounds like equality to me.
Yeah. So in that god is represented as the biggest deities in India are Shiva and Parvati.
Right.
Half of both of them blended together. Half of it is Shiva and half of it is Parvati.
Right.
And it is said that when masculine and feminine energy come together like that, that's when life happens.
Wow.
And transgender people in the southern part especially are considered so sacred that
is that because of the combination of the genders, or
that I think, because I'm not very sure about it, but I would say I'm definitely sure that that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
And the priests are not allowed to marry. There are brahmachari priests. Brahmachari priests mean the people who are not allowed to marry and dedicate their whole life to God, just like churches and fathers.
Christianity, same thing. Yeah.
So, but they're
Catholicism anyway.
Yeah, the only people they're allowed to marry are transgender people because they are considered sacred.
Wow.
See, that's so interesting to learn that, because like
did you have any idea?
No, and like I don't know a lot, but I know a little bit about Indian religion, like Hinduism and whatnot, just from the stuff that I've learned and I've done. But no, it's really cool to hear that, you know what I mean? Because in the Western world where we come from, that isn't something you hear ever.
No.
You know what I mean? Like even for me to learn,
you hear it in like in fractions. Like,
yeah.
But it's not a. It's
yeah.
not
The only thing they hear people have been exposed to is, of course, Kama Sutra. And
everyone likes to get
for every wrong reason. They don't even know what that
to Kama Sutra.
They don't even know what that book actually stands for. They just know that it's a book for whatever. But
like debauchery, debauchery, but with a like a sustainability.
Yeah,
I guess is the word. Right?
And the only thing they know about gods and religions back home is that from India is that they have billions of gods and they worship cows. That's
Right.
the only thing everyone knows.
Right. Well, we like to dub it down here in the
Yeah.
Western world.
Significantly.
Yeah.
Significantly.
Oh, yeah.
But
Like
Yeah.
I used to be like that too. Like
Yeah.
I used to think that what's the point and why are people worshipping so many gods and
Yeah.
why?
Right.
You know, the question why.
Right.
And
Seems like a lot of gods.
yeah, I didn't get the answer then.
is it because it's easier to blame multiple gods for your own fuck ups than it is to blame one?
No, it's actually Jack Coxker. I didn't know anything about that then, and I used to repel from it. I used to be like, I don't want this in my life
Right.
because I don't know anything about it. And that's the one thing that I don't like is if I don't know about one thing and I'm asked to do that,
Yeah.
I'm not doing it because I don't know anything about
No,
it.
yeah.
So tell me more about it.
Sure.
And
That's why our machines never get fixed.
right?
Side note. Side note.
Off topic, but anyways.
But yeah, then I started asking questions, and even back home, people just do what the crowd is doing. You know, they don't have their own
Yeah.
reasons to worship someone.
That's, I mean, societally in general, that's a great downfall.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like my mom, when I go to temples, like my mom would force me to go to temples.
Yeah.
She would be like, join your hands and close your eyes and do this.
Yeah.
And like I started asking questions, why? And she would be like, just do it. Don't be over smart. You know, that would be the question.
But you were immediately turned, like, there was something, you were turned off by that.
Yeah, exactly, because that's the worst thing you can do to a kid.
I agree.
That
Yeah.
you're killing his curiosity. And that's the best thing that a kid has.
I couldn't
His
agree more.
curiosity, and he
Yeah.
would want to learn the world.
Yeah. And can I just interrupt and
Yeah.
say that my mother and I grew up a devout Christian. My mother taught Sunday school. I went to a Catholic high school.
Uh-huh.
So, same idea.
Yeah.
I always felt like I was being put in a very specific box, that I was being given this structure,
Yeah.
this third-party structure on how I should live my life.
Uh-huh.
And it never felt natural.
No.
It never felt, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
shout out to my mom for eventually coming to her senses.
Right.
Honestly, the same thing happened with me. I went every Sunday
Oh yeah.
from the time I was a child to the time I was 13.
Yeah.
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 And then after that, it wasn't fun for me. I have
No.
to sit there and be quiet, and I have no idea what this dude's talking about.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And no interest in listening to what a stranger.
Nobody knows. I would say 90% of the people are sitting in the church
Yeah.
don't know what the Bible is about and what they're speaking about.
No.
The Father, he's just reciting a
No,
quote,
no.
and everybody just listens to it,
Absolutely.
and then they go home.
Yeah. Well, what I figured out at some
It's
point
magic
in time,
at its purest form, man.
yeah, like what I figured out at some point in time, it was just a social gathering.
Yeah.
It was just a reason for us on a Sunday morning to get out of our house and go somewhere and meet up with. It was the equivalent to what in India, our African American friends will get together. It's a very popular thing to get together to do the barbecue.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Or I'm sure you have your own customs.
Yeah.
With your own
Uh-huh.
folks.
Yeah.
It just became kind of a social thing.
Yeah, but even I think that.
But the problem was with that was that it wasn't just a social gathering. They also peppered in this kind of, this is how you should live your life.
This hierarchical mindset of like,
Right.
these are the rules
Yeah.
and regulations you must follow.
Right.
The
So it wasn't
commandments.
just huh?
The commandments.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which incidentally, you know what? The 10 Commandments, for what they're worth, are the only good thing that I took away from 5 years of Catholic, or 5 years of Sunday school, a lifetime of Christian upbringing, and 5 years of Catholic high school. The only thing that I took from any of that experience was the 10 Commandments. That's a damn good way to live your life.
Yeah.
It really is. It's mostly just don't kill your neighbor, don't fuck your neighbor's wife.
Yeah. That's the commandment?
More or less, don't covet your neighbor's oxen, which in essence is don't mess around with your neighbors. Don't quote unquote don't mow your neighbor's lawn. Yeah. No, true, absolutely true. Don't kill people. Treat people well. Treat people as though you would like to be treated. The 10 Commandments is solid. It is a solid way to live your life. But sorry to interrupt you guys. The Bible is 1,700 pages.
Yeah.
Okay, 1,700.
And the one that we have
the 10
now.
Commandments, 1 page.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
And in all honesty, out of everything that Christianity and Catholicism talk about, although they're two technically separate religions, it's literally those are the core principles of that.
Yeah.
And that's all you need to live by.
Yeah.
You don't need the story of Joseph and Henry and Dick and Harry.
They're all listen.
Those stories are meant there to like drive in like
the books of the Bible are all like Netflix.
Yeah,
it's all it is.
Yeah, like back then they didn't have any other entertainment.
It's all it was.
Here's a bunch of stories.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
The King James version of the Bible. Absolutely right on par with anything. What's her name that wrote Harry Potter?
J.K. Rowling.
Anything on par. It's the same. Stories. Meant to entertain. Meant for us to connect with. Possibly take a lesson from.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less. The Bible is pure entertainment.
Yeah.
But in all of that, there's some life lessons sprinkled.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
We used to talk about that in high school actually, about how it was just it was a storybook.
Yeah.
With a lot of stories.
It's a
with
beautiful,
life lessons built into it.
It's a beautiful, elaborate story. But
This topic is so in depth
for another
that
day.
we should have
For another day.
we should dedicate.
You're right. We should. We've kind of ran off a little bit here.
I
So
couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I could go on forever.
okay, so let's just do a quick circle back here.
Let's go back to where I was.
So we were talking about how you brought up.
How transgenders are treated back home, and how it's considered. But don't take it dry. Like in public, there will be discrimination against trans people. Sure. But there are like special occasions when they're considered like sacred too. So it's a very complicated situation with trans people, I would say.
That's described as complicated, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy way out of the conversation, just by saying, it's complicated. No, I think it's so complicated that to have any real definitive answers.
See, what's complicated for me
would be ignorant at this point. I think we're kind of very much, sorry to interject, but I think we're very much, and I only speak for myself, certainly, we're very much in a wait and see kind of pattern. And the trans community, from what I can see, I have to try and understand that, they, why wouldn't they want us to understand right now? I get that.
Yeah.
I get how if I was a trans person, I'd want full support now.
Let me
Wouldn't
ask
you
you
know?
a question.
Of course we would.
Let
We all would.
Let me be
But
devil's
I'm not willing.
advocate.
I'm not willing to give it.
Let me be devil's advocate here, okay?
Sure.
So, how many straight people come to you and be like, understand me why I'm straight?
Seven.
Sorry. It's always that number 7.
Why I'm straight? Understand me why I'm straight, and like accept me I'm straight.
Sure.
How many people do that to you? None. Have any of the straight person come to you and be like that? No, because it's a thing that's what do you call it? it's not a thing to be like boast about, or what do you call it?
Yeah,
It's
both
not
both would be a thing. It's like
Right.
it's like, hey, look at me, like I'm straight.
Yeah.
Look at, like, I got this beautiful woman. Look
Yeah,
at me.
right. But nobody
But
does
it's
that.
different.
Well-
It's different when you see someone walking down the street and there's a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, or
Well, let me
you know what I mean. But I get what you're saying. You're like,
Yeah.
why should it be any different?
Let me throw it out there. I want to ask both you gentlemen. I want to ask both your opinions separately.
Sure.
The purpose of Gay Pride. The purpose of Gay Pride 2021. Go.
I don't want to. I don't know. Might take some flack for it. Hopefully, I don't.
No, don't worry about it.
The purpose of it now, and I think because we're still on that cusp, you know what I mean? Like every day there's new things. Like you had the LGBT flag, you know, you got the pride flag, and now there's a flag for the trans community, and there's a flag for people that are non-binary, so LGBTQ2. You know what I mean? Two-spirited. There's
Didn't even know that, by the way.
Two-spirited?
Me too.
Yeah. So like what you were saying back like in India where they're kind of deified. I just speak on what I know.
I want to get there.
Yeah, but in the First Nations community too, two-spirited people were more likely to be a shaman because they walked in both worlds. They had the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and it was easy for them to transition between, so they became medicine healers.
That's very common back home too.
So there's a weird distinction between the two.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And probably throughout the world, there's a commonality between this type of individual. In terms of why pride would be important nowadays, is like I said, we're still on that cusp. You know what I mean? Like not everyone has. Sorry for the boomers that don't get it. You know what I mean? And beyond your generation, the people that grew up where like you were stoned to death or you were murdered if you were that, which is kind of fucking weird to me if you think about it, because you go far beyond what we are these days, and being gay or lesbian or any of that was commonality at some point in life. You know, even like you look at the Romans, and the Romans were taught to love the person that they fought next to because they believed you fought harder if you loved that person. So they encouraged men and women to sleep together because of that. So it was normal at one point, and I think.
Do you need men and men?
Or men and men, yeah. It's like if you were fighting in war.
I would like to refer something from back home too, even in Kama Sutra that nobody knows about actually. You would see sculptures and depictions of men and men, women and women, in all kinds of positions. And
That's a history lesson.
that's literally, it was such a normal thing back then. But again, Kama Sutra is referred to as the science of sex, I would say. Yeah, the science of sex, and every.
Can I be honest with you how ignorant I am? I thought that the Kama Sutra was just
Like yoga sex poses?
learning how to fuck your girlfriend for
That's
longer
also
than
one of the. That's also one of the lessons in there. I'm not even.
Oh,
kidding.
I thought that was the main lesson. Turns out it's not.
See, that's such a sad story though. 96% of the women never achieve.
I mean, maybe 96% of the women you've been with.
So
I'm just kidding.
No, I know. 96% of general population. Of the general population. Okay.
Yeah.
Of women don't achieve. What do you call it? Conclusion.
Climax.
Climax.
Yeah.
Thanks. Don't achieve climax by men. There, you know, and that's the reason, because female reproductive organ was never explored, studied, and researched upon in so many years, and it recently started in the past decade, I would say.
Yeah.
The Kama Sutra has been there for, I would say, 2,000 years at least.
Wow.
And they have written stuff like that.
So the Kama Sutra is essentially, if I'm correct me if I'm not right.
Yeah.
But it's like a love letter to women, right? It's like a
Human biology mixed in with human emotions and sexual psychology all together.
See, this is why Indian culture is so rich, because we in the Western world are fucking idiots. We're so fucking dumb.
We really are.
No, we're like our ignorance. Our ignorance is unmatched.
Yeah,
is unmatched.
We're beyond decades. Like we're beyond generations behind you. We're in the hundreds, if not thousands of years behind you.
Like and like, don't get me wrong. Like other countries and cultures only know their particular thing, right? Because they haven't been outside of their country.
Yeah.
But Western culture, as it is like the layman's of absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Because like we have a very rich indigenous culture, but we just shun it and put it down every chance we get.
We do.
We just like try to stomp it out like it never existed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you go to other cultures.
We wear privilege. We wear privilege in this country, in the Western world. We wear privilege like a badge of honor.
Oh, 100%.
It's a good thing.
Yeah,
Can you imagine?
I know.
Can you imagine?
And that's the most ignorant thing out of all of it, is because we just walk around thinking we know everything when really we know next to nothing.
Like you could have, like us, the people back then could have gathered so much knowledge and culture and everything.
Yeah.
But all they gathered was food, textile, and like
Just the
land.
Just the
Liquor.
Just the very,
Lots of liquor.
just the very basic things in order to. Well, we only thought about survival. We never thought about enriching
No.
the culture.
No.
We only thought about survival,
Yeah.
and we just kind of ended it there. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know why that is. It's tough to figure out why it is that your people were so determined to
I don't know.
designate a purpose
I know,
for
like,
life, and how we were just willing to fucking just live,
Yeah.
stay warm and fed.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
That's
think
it.
India was
Crazy.
has always been since centuries a place for seekers.
But why?
Like they
The Serpent of Light, and it's really cool. So he talks about, like Melchizedek, he was the order of the Great White Brotherhood, which is an order from back beyond Christianity. And they talk about Atlantis and Lemuria. And they talk about the sinking of Atlantis. And during that time, so the Earth has chakra points, like everything else does, right? Or so in Chinese philosophy, your chakras are the meridians. They're the main centers of your nervous system, right? And the Earth has these main centers for the nervous system too. And what happened was when the precession of the equinox happened, which was supposedly every 13,000 years, the Earth would wobble, and you get a new point. It kind of like what we see going on now with the change of our poles. Our poles are changing right now. We're all over the place. So in 5 years, what we know as north won't be magnetic north anymore. It could be in the Andes. It could be in the south.
Yeah.
That would be north, and we would now be south. Yeah. So anyways, what he talks about is back in the day, Atlantis was the crown chakra of the planet. And everyone that lived there was devout and understood I guess like the universal language of everything. They're priests and everything, right? So they were very divine in their wisdom. And what happened was after that, the 13,000 years, so on and so forth, every time the Kundalini in the planet would shift, it would choose a new spot. And every place that the head of the serpent rested became the new spiritual leader of the world. So you end up, you had, Atlantis and Lemuria. And then you had Peru. And then you had India and China. and it changes so often. So every time that it landed, those places became the spiritual teachers. So just like to say what you said, and I lost myself saying that, but it was a really, really interesting when I read that book and you had mentioned that. And then you start to think about it, because I studied a little bit of Kundalini a while ago. And I'm still very into it. I just don't meditate as much as I should have. But it's very interesting to see like what happens when these certain spots are focused and unlocked, and the things that come out of them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's fascinating.
Like meditation, man.
Yeah,
Like who would have thought of it that, you know what? Let's just sit somewhere, close our eyes,
And do nothing.
and do nothing. And like who would have thought of
But
it?
that makes sense, though.
Right?
Slowing things down makes sense.
Yeah.
But
But slowing things down 5,000 years ago, when the only motive you should have had is how to eat your next meal, you know, how to gather the next fruit.
It's slowing things down on a grand scale.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
How do you just for the, and this is a reference I'm going to use a lot for the folks at home. How do you spell that gentleman's?
Oh, Melchizedek.
Yes.
I need to look it up.
No, that's all good. No, because that's something that I think.
I have the book at home. I'll lend you it so you can read it, and it's a very interesting read.
Cool.
So back to the topic.
Yes.
Pride.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So are we creeping our way back to
we're making a full circle here,
pride
trying to. So why I believe it's important is there's still the generations that are learning, and
So you still feel like some of us still need to be taught a lesson?
well, no, not necessarily, but like there are people, like I grew up with people that were homophobic and stuff like that, and they
You think the gay pride parades in Toronto are going to change their minds?
No. It's like, don't get me wrong. I fully 100% support pride, but I also know
I've been to 10 gay pride.
I also know a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, but I do know some people that are gay that don't celebrate it because it becomes overboard. You know what I mean? Like I celebrate you in anything that you want to be or anything that you want to do. Don't get me wrong. You're a human being. I'm going to love you.
For sure.
Because we're all one and the same. Doesn't matter what you believe in or what you choose to be.
I don't.
Why do you?
But like when you're taking your children to Pride and there's men walking down the street completely, not just men and women that are completely butt naked.
But it's not even that though. No, I agree. But first of all, I agree with all of that. And I've been to probably 10, 12 gay Pride. When I lived down south, of course I went.
Yeah.
Of course I went. It was great. It was wonderful. I had some of the best stories I could ever retell in my life were from some of my the gay folks that I met at Gay Pride. Wonderful. The community so supportive. Wonderful. I don't have any. There's no negativity I could speak of in terms of. But at the same time, I'm not sure where the association of pride and sexuality. That's where I have right. I'll come to like if I hear like somebody talk about I say if somebody talks about how they're proud of their gay son.
Yeah.
Like shut the fuck up. Like shut up. I don't come back to that. Shut up. I have a gay son. Pride has nothing to do with it. I can be proud of it. I'll tell you what I'll be proud of him. I'll be proud of him if I find out that he makes any choice in his life that is a righteous choice. None of that has anything to do with sexuality ever. I can tell you right now, my son has never. But do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. See,
I'm proud of my son.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of my gay son.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fucking ever. That's never happened.
That's exactly what we were talking about earlier. Like when you stress that part,
I don't need to know.
It doesn't become a norm anymore. You know, now you're making it special. So that's why I don't agree with.
So that's why the pride thing, in my opinion,
Yeah.
they need to chill. There was a time for it.
Yeah.
The 60s.
Yeah.
The 70s. When people were getting murdered en masse, and every now and then you hear, oh well, gay people are still getting murdered.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
No, they're not. No, there's one in every fucking blue moon.
Yeah.
Which, you know.
It's
People
like
are not getting murdered.
people are being
not getting murdered or discriminated for a job because they're gay.
Yeah.
Thank God that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So pride.
Exactly. Like what?
Pride had its moment.
That's
Can
exactly
we move on from pride.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I think is pride. First of all, it's super commercialized.
Yes.
Super commercialized. Like what people don't get is they are being used. They just feel like, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that,
Yes.
and this is our month and whatever. No, it's just a month so that the big one person can sell their hoodies to you, labeling it by pride.
Can we stop talking about gay people?
Yeah.
And just let them fucking do whatever they want to do?
Exactly.
They're like, again,
So
my gay
it's-
neighbor is exactly like I am. So can we stop talking about how he's gay?
Yeah, instead of talking about gay people, just talk about people.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm coming at. You know,
I don't want to talk. Listen, I have a gay son. I don't want to talk about my gay son.
He's your son.
I have a son.
see, we don't celebrate.
It just so happens he enjoys fucking men.
Do we celebrate straight month?
No.
No.
Ridiculous.
Like there's nothing to.
There was a
decide
time
about.
for it. I'll say it again. It was the 60s when
Yeah.
people were getting discriminated against. We're 2020. Thank fucking God. We got there.
Yeah.
We really got there. We got to a point where we don't discriminate against gay people anymore.
Exactly.
And if I'm wrong, point it out.
Yeah.
Tell me where. If I'm wrong, I'm glad to be wrong.
Yeah.
And I'll fight for that person who's being discriminated against.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who's gay. My son will tell you, I've never been discriminated
Like,
against in my
would you
life.
introduce?
Thank God.
Would you introduce yourself? Hi, I'm Dwayne. I'm straight.
I'm straight,
No,
man.
you don't know. But I've seen people who would introduce themselves as, "Hi, I'm Peter and I'm gay." You know, like it's a what do you call it? A special thing about them. Listen, your sexuality
I know.
is
I know.
your personal
I
thing,
know.
and it
And I
should
get-
be in your bedroom.
Right.
It should be in your bedroom. It's your personal thing. What you do in your bedroom, it's your personal thing. You don't want to know about it. I will treat you exactly like any other person you would come and talk to me.
Yes. And if it was 1965, I would be at the front of the line with a sign saying I support gay people.
Yeah, like any kind of discrimination has to be protested, and it has to have like
show me where gay people are being discriminated against.
Yeah.
And subsequently, and if I'm wrong on this. Show me where trans people are being discriminated against. Let's speak for our own country here.
Let's speak our own country.
Let me ask Cole. Let me ask Cole. Where are trans people being discriminated against in this country? Where? I don't see it. And if I'm just ignorant, I can accept that. I'll accept that from you. I promise you, I will.
I think
But
I think it is that it's a lot of what we see and what we don't see.
But again, isn't it against Canadian law to discriminate against any of those things?
Yeah, no, that's the most commonly fucking broken law in the world.
But first of all, when you apply to a job in Canada,
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, you can't discriminate against anything about that.
It's in the contract.
Yeah, no, it is. It's 100% in the contract.
You don't even put your photo on your resume. It's not even allowed to put your photo on your resume.
I think where it comes down to it's maybe interiorized, but it's also personal.
Yeah, but nobody asked. Listen, when you're applying, nobody asked your gender, your race, your religion, nothing. All you do is your qualifications, your name, and that's it.
Well, let's put it this way. We've worked together for over a year now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're pretty comfortable together, and like I like you as a person. But you've experienced at DSI some sort of racism.
Yeah. Come on.
Whether or not it be joking,
Yeah.
because it can come across as a joke. You know what I mean? Like we can all joke amongst each other. No. We've all joked amongst each other, and like if anyone says anything, like especially if I said something to you, you know I mean it because you're a great person and I really enjoy you.
Yeah.
But people don't always think like that.
I know.
So there might be someone that
For sure.
that is living that
there is.
experience.
Definitely, yeah.
That is living that experience, and maybe have someone that like maybe tries to poke a joke at them that they don't
But
think is funny.
But anything hostile though, or just bad jokes, just terrible jokes?
It has some
Okay.
got to hostile, but I would say the racism thing is way different than transgender or gay thing. It's because racism you can't hide.
Yeah, you're right.
I can't hide. I'm brown. You know, it is there. I can't do anything about it.
Right.
But you're gay or transgender, that comes out of you. You are introducing that. You're exposing that to them. And then, if you're discriminated, that was your choice to expose. You know, because.
But I think that's the one thing. I think people they get outed and they want to keep it to themselves and they keep it private because, like you say, like it's your private life and what you do in private is your business. But there are assholes out there that exist that once they find out about this, they out someone. And then they out that person to the wrong person that might be transphobic or homophobic.
Yeah.
And then that person says something, and then they do experience something like that.
That definitely comes under discrimination.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like it discrimination is the, what do you call it? Discrimination is the problem, not transphobia. You know, he's being discriminated because of whatever reason. Discrimination should not happen whatsoever.
Okay.
That's the problem. It's not transphobia.
I see what you're saying. I do.
You know, and what is it like? Like I said, that it's your thing. You and your partner is the only person who should know. Like, I'm not saying that's the only person you should be telling.
No.
Like, it's your way of living, whatever.
But ideally.
You are a straight person. You would only your wife would know that you're a straight person.
It should.
Like it would not come out like, hey, I'm a straight person. You know, you'll not be doing rallies and stuff that you're a straight person.
Right.
But
It's a very personal.
it's a personal, private thing that you do by yourself and your partner for yourself. You know? The world doesn't have to know about it.
No.
The world does nothing of knowing about it.
Right.
You know? You get no privileges, no judgment, whatever.
Sure.
But like that's the thing. That's the essence of it. That it's personal thing. Keep it personal, and it should be good.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
if you're discriminated for
I
any
totally
reason,
agree.
that's where the problems start, and that's what you should fight.
I totally agree.
Yeah, you should not.
I completely agree.
I think it all comes down to, like, in the base nature of this, it's the fear of the unknown. It's because people are experiencing things they're not used to or they don't know, and their most animalistic instinct is to fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they do is they fight it and they say these things and they do these things and people get hurt by it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it creates this entire dynamic that we see today. You know what I mean? With Pride being like, yes, I'm gay, like, this is who I am, accept me, or like I'm trans, this is who I am, accept me. And why we see all these different movements now is because whether or not we know and we see this as a normal type of thing that happens in life, is there are still people through what's the word I'm looking for, through nature or nurture, grew up experiencing some sort of hatred and shit in their life. So because they fear something or are very ignorant or unknowing of a certain thing, they choose immediate violence or anger towards it, instead of stepping back and being like, let me sit and listen to why this is who you are.
Sure, and I think that's probably great advice for both sides, is to just for the people in general, right? To be able to we really need to embrace the idea of stepping back and not allowing our opinion about something to be based on.
Well, look,
certainly historically,
like, let's look at
but
it.
emotionally too. But like at the end of the day, I think our allies in the Indian community, that's served to follow their idea that we're all human beings.
Yeah.
And that we don't necessarily need
Not
to
even
understand
human
one
beings.
another's.
Not even human beings. They break it down more. We are a life form.
Of course you would.
And that's it. We are a life form, and that's it. Like your life is no different than a dog's or an insect's life.
Man, I tell people that all the time, and they look at me like I'm batshit crazy.
Right?
Yeah, man, you're no different than the dirt on the bottom of your shoe.
Yeah.
We're all carbon-based life forms that
you
come
have to
from this.
remember, I was hardcore for 10 years. I was vegan, so I tried to, you know what I mean? Like I would if I saw the spider in the corner, still with the spiders, dude. If there's a spider in here, that shit don't die.
No, I do the same thing.
No, that spider gets to live a life.
Me too.
That's yeah.
Yeah, but that's the difference between that's what compassion is. It's not just compassion for your fellow man; it's compassion for everything.
Well,
Because you're no different from anything.
There's the exception. There is the exception. Right? Mosquitoes.
Oh yeah, of course. Let's face it.
Right there. Oh, it's getting killed, man. See, but also I have my justification.
Not only will I kill a mosquito, I'll torture it.
See, the thing with mosquitoes is that if you don't kill it, that little thing has the potential to kill you.
Oh,
Just with the bite.
Oh yeah.
Okay? And like it's survival instinct right there. It's nothing other than that. I'm just saving my life by taking a life. No? Mosquitoes are the only exceptions. Anything else,
The
no.
only one. I know. I wish I've tried. Can I tell you? I've tried so desperately. Like I've had a mosquito the odd time land on
Oh,
me.
you try to pull it off?
No, I thought I'll try and have some sort of a bond with it,
Yeah.
and I'll kind of look, and do a little eye, and I'd be like, yeah, fuck you. I can't do it. I can't do it. No. They have their intentions are never good.
Complete malice.
Exactly. Do you know an interesting fact about mosquitoes?
No.
Only female mosquitoes bite.
Really?
Only female mosquitoes.
Yeah, you've not seen a mosquito hawk? Those big motherfucking things.
Those male
Those are male mosquitoes.
No. Male mosquitoes are vegetarians. They're actually green in color. Female
No way.
Female mosquitoes need human blood or any kind of blood to lay eggs.
Yeah, they're fucking
to
vampires.
lay their eggs
Wow.
in. And that's why female mosquitoes bite and collect blood for their for laying eggs.
So there is a little chink in that feminist.
So yeah, these females have been sucking our blood for many years, but
of course.
That's a topic for another day. Well,
Of course they have.
anyways, guys, we've oh, you want to say something?
yeah, there was one thing that I wanted to. We would continue, not right now, but we'll wind up now. But I would like to bring this up in the next conversation where we would follow up with this one. That is, do you think being gay and the LGBTQ is all natural?
Oh yeah, 100%. I can answer that
You think
question
it's
right now. I think
natural?
it's natural. I think it is natural.
Do I think it's natural?
Yeah. Natural.
Yeah, but this boils down. This is going to open a whole new can of worms. This boils down to human perception and conception
Yeah, I can
of
eliminate.
idealisms.
I know, not even idealism. I can eliminate that whole human perception part with one question.
Do it.
And one application right away.
Do it. Is it? Are we stepping on a cliffhanger? Is this the cliffhanger?
I don't know. Is this a cliffhanger? Are you going to answer our question next week?
Let's make it a cliffhanger.
Let's make it a cliffhanger. All right. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. It's been a journey. It's our first podcast. It's been all over the place, but I tell you, I had one hell of a good time.
Oh, me too.
I love you.
What about you, man in the mirror?
I love these guys.
Awesome. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for God knows how long this video is going to be. But hopefully we'll try to catch you guys next week. This was the DownTime podcast.
Assalamu alaikum, fellas.
Have a great night, guys.
Namaste.